I am back. My name is Rebecca and I have started this YouTube channel to document my quest from debt to fire. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a long one, talking about my past financial mistakes. Now, I've already done a video about the debts that I have that I'm trying to pay off. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it. That way this video will make a little bit more sense to you. So, first thing, we're going to do a little field trip on this video too. First debt that I have, first purchase that I have that I sort of regret is the bed that I talked about in my debt video. The Big Mac Daddy I-10 sleep number bed. And here it is. Ooh, ah, right? At the end of the day, it's just a place to lay your head. Next thing that I sort of regret purchasing, I'm going to have to flip the camera around to show you. So I'll be right back with that. Sup, bitches? Fishes. This is the next purchase that I kind of regret buying. This is our big... What are you doing down there, Myrtle? This is our big 120-gallon freshwater fish tank. We just recently redecorated, put some more fish in. So this fish tank purchase was easily over $1,000 initially just to buy and set up, and we have since put double into that, maintaining it, redecorating it, adding fish, what have you. It's pretty. It's just a purchase that should have waited though. This is my brand new car purchase that I made last year, either August or September, I can't remember. This is my Kia Niro. His name is Robert the Niro. Once again, this was something that I didn't have to have. There was nothing wrong with my old car. I just really wanted it and justified the purchase, and there you have it. Hey, Rollo. There's our 13-week-old Irish Wolfhound puppy. He's a good boy. So before we get into the student loans, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, knowing what I know now, here are some things that I would definitely do differently. Firstly, I would tell myself to budget and save. I know people hate that budget word, and I've fought it myself, but once I started doing it, not only did I not regret it, I saw the value in it. Budgeting, it really helps the vast majority of us out there. And saving too. If I knew the importance of savings rate when I was younger, I would have done more of it. Financial education is something that this country is severely lacking in, and I don't see that that's going to get any better in the future. We are trained from a young age to consume, and consume is what we do, whether it's finances or whether it's food in this country, to be honest. That's a whole nother video in itself. Anyway, so yeah, I would have had some sort of financial plan, started budgeting, started saving. Also, if I could go back, another past financial mistake that I've made twice over now is cashing out my 401k when I left a job. I knew that there would be a tax hit, but I'm like, oh, I get taxed so much anyway, what does it matter? I need this money to move to whatever it was I was doing in my life, to get started with my next job. I justified cashing out my 401k twice. Neither time had a great deal of money in it, but still, I should have left it alone because I was young, in my 20s. I could have gotten compounding interest over time if I had just rolled it over into another 401k or just left it alone. Anyway, now we'll get into the student loans because that's another multifaceted past financial mistake. If you can make a mistake with financial loans, student loans, then I've probably done it. First of all, taking them out when they weren't strictly necessary and taking out more than I needed. First time I went through college was a 2-year program. I have an associate's degree. I went to school to become a registered veterinary technician. and I graduated and worked in that field for a few years, and then moved on to college again. But I took out, I think, 2 student loans the first time I went through college. And I did work some, just not enough, but I took out, more than I needed to help me live my lifestyle using the student loans while I was in school. Same thing again for the second time around in college. Again, at least it was another associate degree, a 2-year program. But still, I took out additional student loans and took out more than I needed to live off of. And I did not work as much as I could have the second time through college. Honestly, I could not tell you what the original amount that I borrowed was. I had 4, I think, separate private student loans, and didn't pay on them in college. Should have, if I could have. Well, I could have, but I just didn't. So I kept accruing interest, and then when I graduated, I took advantage of the 6-month deferred payments, because why not? Why not? Because they accrue interest during that time, and I was not clear on that either. Just in general, don't ever take out any kind of loan unless you are 100% clear on all facets of taking out the loan. Don't take out loans at all if you can avoid it. Anyway, so yeah, I took the 6-month deferment, interest accrued all during that time. And, once I started getting the bills in the mail, 4 different student loan bills coming in every month, I was like, you know what? I've heard about the student loan consolidating. That seems like a good thing to make it easier on me to just have one payment a month. That's about the only good thing about it. It did simplify my bills. But when I consolidated, overall, the interest rate went up so that I could have a lower payment every month. And I told myself that that was okay because I'll just, pay the student loans off early. Well, and that, I'll make more than the minimum payment. I didn't. So now with the higher interest rate and the way the loan is scheduled, I have barely made a dent in my student loans. And I first graduated college in 2006. It has been 12 years that I have been paying on student loans. I believe that the total amount I borrowed was around $28,000, somewhere in there. I don't actually know the exact figure anymore because it was so long ago. And right now, with all of the loans consolidated, my principal balance that I owe is $27,700 and something, I think. I'll have to go watch the debt confession video to get the exact figure. But this is another almost sickening advantage of budgeting. Once I actually started looking at my statements every month, I started keeping track of how much of my payment is actually getting that principal down and how much is going to interest. Sickening. Yeah, y'all. Don't take out student loans. I think that should about do it for this past financial mistakes video. Hopefully, if nothing else by now, you're probably feeling a little bit better about your situation, your past financial decisions. You're welcome. So to end this video on a more positive note, I'm going to talk about some of the motivational tools that I use to keep myself motivated on this long debt payoff journey. First one is a simple one, paper chain. Here it is. I made this just to show my total debt. It's in my bedroom on my mirror. I see it every day, and I've got around $71,000 to pay off. So here's my first little link in the chain with $71,000 on it, and they're in $500 increments. So whenever I get $500 paid off on my principal, I rip through one of those chains and it's gone forever. Next thing that I use, you've probably seen on some other debt videos or Dave Ramsey videos if you're in that community, but it's the debt-free charts. I've got one for every debt that I owe. That's on the back of my bedroom door, so I see it every day as well. And those are all of my individual debts listed out. So whenever I get, whatever the increment is, I just color in a line so I can see how close I am to getting individual debts paid off. Next thing that I use to keep me motivated, I've mentioned it a little bit before, but I like to use mint.com. It's a free service. It takes some time to set up. You put all your accounts in there and it'll track things like your bill payment. You can set goals in the app. You can set budgets in the app. Some people do use it to budget, but I prefer Google Sheets. Anyway, I do like Mint though to sort of track my net worth and just to keep an eye on all of my accounts all in one place. It's kind of handy for that. I also like to use Credit Karma. It's a nice app to have. I know, Dave Ramsey says you shouldn't worry about your credit score, but I do. I like Credit Karma just because it's easy to use and, you can look at your credit score all the time. It does change. And actually, side note, when I first started my debt journey, I've always had good credit because I've never had a late payment, probably ever. And, even though I have all of this debt, I have been working on paying it down, and the more I pay it down, the higher my credit score goes. For the first time ever in my life, I've got a credit score right now that's over 800. I mean, that's pretty darn good. And that's, motivation to keep going with getting this debt paid off. And budgeting, I know I've mentioned it before, but I like to use Google Sheets. I've got all of my monthly bills set up in there. I can track all of my spending and see where it goes. I can set up my formulas so that, from month to month, I can see how much my principal balance has gone down. I can look at it anytime and see what the principal balance is that I owe on all of my debts. Honestly, when I'm at work, I'll just bring up my budget and just look at it. That's probably very nerdy, but I like to just look at it when I'm at work to give me some motivation. And the longer I budget, I have a new sheet for each month, and I can go back and look at the very beginning sheet when I first started budgeting from October 2017, and I can look at my total principal balance and all of the debts I had to pay on then. It was very near $89,000 that I had in principal balance. And so from October 2017 to July 2018, I'm down to $71,000 principal balance. And whenever budgeting feels tedious, whenever I just want to spend without thinking, I can go in and look at that budget and see how far I've come. And usually that's enough to get me to think twice about what it is I'm buying. I am actually making progress, and the sooner I get this debt gone, the sooner I can start investing. And, lastly, probably my favorite motivation to keep going is YouTube. I have been in this YouTube community watching other people for months. Even before I started officially budgeting with Google Sheets in October, for probably 2 or 3 months beforehand, I first got into the financial community on YouTube and started watching all the Dave Ramsey people and getting motivation from them. And so that's the reason why I made this channel. I loved watching people's stories going from debt to debt freedom. Everybody knows Budget Girl, but talk about motivation, to get those student loans paid down on such a small income. What is my excuse? I don't have one. There's no reason for me to slack off on this plan that I'm on. So if YouTube can motivate me that much watching other people, I decided that after all these months I've been watching, it is time for me to give back. I'm going to document my own journey.